What does it mean to live in all good conscience? Hello, friends. Welcome to Journey Through the Bible. Today we're studying the book of Acts, chapter 23, verse 1. Please look for your Bible and double check the scriptures that we're reading today. Acts 23, verse 1. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to grab your Bible. All right. Now, verse 1 says, Paul looked straight at the Sanhedrin and said, My brothers, I have fulfilled my duty to God in all good conscience to this day. Well, now, not everybody has the privilege of saying these words properly and still being true to what they say. Paul did use those words, and he knew that he had lived in all good conscience through that day. But what does that mean? What does it mean to live in all good conscience? So when Paul used the expressions, I have fulfilled my duty, there's several versions for this one. So like let's go to the King James versions, to the New King James version. Let me read it for you. Um, when you look at the New King James version, it says, "I have lived in all good conscience," while the New International Version says, "I have fulfilled my duty." Why the difference of this translation? Let me show you why that difference. So the expression in Greek for "I have lived" is pepoliteumai. Pepoliteumai basically, you see it on the screen, basically means I have been a good citizen. But Paul is using it in a wider sense here. He doesn't use pepoliteumai by itself. He uses it with a couple other words. He says pepoliteumai to theo. And I know this is not a Greek class, but remember theology, pepoliteumai to theo. The expression is telling us that Paul was eager to live like a good citizen, yes, but he considered a top priority to live not like a good citizen here alone, but before the kingdom of heaven, before the Lord. So for Paul, it was more important to be regarded a good citizen of heaven than to be regarded a good citizen down here on earth. Now, mind you, by the end of this time, by the end of time, the prophecy does tell us that there's going to be a moment in history when doing God's will appear as if you're disobeying the local governments or the common sense even. Paul is making it clear here that for him, his priority was not being a good citizen per se. He had, of course, been a good citizen, but he had been so just because he wanted to be loyal to the kingdom of heaven. Today, I want to challenge you to be a good citizen, but not only for the sake of obeying the government, but for the sake of doing God's will. And if at some point in life you have to defy the system in order to be obedient to God, do not be afraid to do that in peace, because you've got to obey God first. Now, here's what Acts 23, verse 1 tells me as a whole. Paul looked straight at the Sanhedrin and said, My brothers, I have fulfilled my duty. You do have to fulfill your duty before the government. You do have to be a good citizen. But Paul does tell you that his priority was to fulfill his duty to God beyond his duties as a citizen of Rome, he had to fulfill his duties as a citizen of heaven. And that's got to be clear to you as well. That is the real meaning of living in all good conscience. And I want to challenge you one more time today to live your life in all good conscience. May the Lord bless you.